Beautiful souls, it's Ashlee Escobar. We are back on the Wake Up for another episode. For those of you just tuning in or who don't know me, I'm the owner of Angelic Love and Light. I'm a holistic healer who helps people experiencing high levels of stress and past traumas create more balance in their body, mind, and spirit. I'm really excited to introduce my guest that I have on with me today. But before I do that, I want to share with you guys this new series that we are launching. So you're going to hear a podcast episode. So jump over to the podcast and check that out, and you'll hear the series. The series is called Who Does She Think She Is? There's a deeper meaning behind this series and why I'm bringing on the guests that I am bringing on to share their stories. And I'm just going to give you a little screenshot of what this series is about. So as a child, everything has deeper meaning with me. And as a child, my mother always said, who do you think you are? My Mercury and my Venus, Leo, how I communicate and how I love so passionately is like a Leo. And we're very confident. We know what we want. We know what we don't want. And I feel like I followed in my mom's footsteps, and she taught me to be this fierce little person, but then didn't know what to do with it when I was that fierce. So she would always say, who do you think you are? And I would answer her. And, through my own traumas and healing, I do know who I am. So this series is all about people who have experienced really traumatic, but destined parts of their life and overcome them and are working through it in their healing journey through multiple different ways. So today I'm honored to be with one of my spiritual sisters that I can't wait to hear her backstory in detail. This is Genesee West. And Genesee, thank you so much for coming and joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So everybody is got this present moment and where they're at, but I want to dive into your backstory. I want to take back everybody to childhood, or what I call your darkest trauma that was really like your dark night of the soul before that awakening moment and that healing journey started. So what was that for you, and what did it look like?
So growing up wasn't too bad. I had both my parents at home, but the real thing that started with me, I guess, about age 5 or 6, I did encounter some sexual abuse by a family member. It was my mom's father, and also a best friend in the family. So I think right there off the bat is what kind of broke me as a child, which gave me that feeling of that was my fault. Like this somehow was my fault. And I think that always stuck with me growing up. Like things were always my fault. Like it broke my self-esteem right away as a child, and I took the blame for that. Like somehow I think a lot of us go through that where we internalize sexual abuse, especially as children, as it's something that we did wrong, that we asked for it in some way. So right off the bat, that's kind of, I had dealt with that as a child. So right away, growing up, I had no self-esteem. I got teased in middle school, kind of jumping from that to middle school. I never really had like a lot of group of friends. I was always very much like had one friend. So I really never fit in. My parents, we moved from we were from Milwaukee in Wisconsin, and then we moved to Oshkosh. So that move right there when I was let's see, I think I was going into 4th grade. So that move there was pretty traumatic as a child also, because I left all my childhood friends behind. So moving here, and then I never really fit in. I never really had friends. So my worth was really just dependent on what other people thought about me. And that's who I was for a long time. Like I didn't know who I was. I was very shy. I had no self-esteem. I was picked on as a child in school. I would come home, cry to my mom, and she'd be like, honey, I'm your best friend. And really, she was. And she still is to this day. My mom is my best friend. She's my confidant. She's my everything. She always has been, because even though if I didn't have those relationships in school, I still had my mom. So my mom has been like my rock. She has been like my number one supporter. No matter where I'm going through in life, and I've been through a lot, I can show up on her door in the rain, and she'll let me in no matter what. So she's always been like there for me. So now I'm trying to always be there for her. She just recently got diagnosed with cancer, as we kind of talked about. So now I'm doing the best I can to just show her the love, show her that I'm there for her, support her, doing everything I can do to make her feel comfortable as she's going through this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Oh
tough.
my,
When somebody is she's always been my number one. She's always been the strong one. Like when I was going through my addiction and everything that I went through, which was a lot, she was always there for me. She never like turned me away. She never talked down on me. She never made me feel less of a person, no matter what struggles I was going through. She was always there for me. She even took
that,
my daughter in and took care of my daughter for me when there was a time where I wasn't allowed to be alone with my youngest daughter because of my drug abuse. And so she was taking care of her when my husband at the time was at work, and I would be allowed to come to there and be with her as she kind of oversaw me with my daughter, because that's how bad addiction can become. And mine was bad. It didn't start off until like I was a little bit of a late bloomer. I was doing the bars and cocaine in my 20s, but it was more of like a social thing. I'm just hanging out with my friends. I'm just having fun. It's just part of growing up. And it was for in my 20s. And then in my 30s, actually when my kids got a little bit older, that's when it got to be really bad. And I got into heroin. First, I would backtrack a little bit how I even got into heroin.
yeah.
I had a back issue, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard the story before, or they can relate to this, that you have a back issue or something happens where you prescribe medication from the doctor. And that's basically how my hardcore drug use started. Was I had a problem with my lower back, and the doctor basically said, well, you have weak muscles in your butt or your glutes. I'm not sure the term that he used, which is interesting now when I look back at it, the knowledge I have. But he prescribed me Percocet for the pain. So I really didn't understand. I mean, I had my issues with drinking and such, but this was a whole new ball game. Um, that really just opened up the door to heavier pain pills, to morphine, to heroin. And then I got pregnant with my youngest daughter, who is now, well, 6 right now. But actually, I was addicted to heroin when I got pregnant with her. And my other 2 kids, I was not really having the struggles with the addiction when I had them. So this was a whole new ball game, trying to get off. And I would condemn, like I would always be like, I'm open to everybody. I understand everybody, but I would be the mom, the parent be like, oh, I could never do drugs when I was pregnant, or I caught myself in that, being judgmental before I experienced it myself. And I was like, whoa, this is, I really took a step back and like, it's not what, it's like, just because you're pregnant and you're carrying this life, it doesn't mean that you can just change your life and stop. Because,
And so can your CSL plasma
Sorry, I hate that the ad just interrupted us, but I was like trying to not cut you off, so I like just went to go click the screen and press skip because this is beautiful. It's almost like spirit and universe was like trying to like alert people who are going to be listening to this. Like, are you listening? Are you listening? This is urgent but good information. Keep going, beautiful soul. I apologize.
So I mean, I forgot where the point I was going with all of that, but I was addicted to heroin. I was 38 years old when I got pregnant with my last and final child. The other 2, like I have a hard time recalling everything because of my drug abuse, but I was pregnant with got pregnant with her. Well, I was in jail before that, and in jail, if anybody knows, you're not allowed birth control in jail.
Yeah.
So I got out of jail and was not planning on obviously having more kids at 38 years old. Was in jail for like 2 weeks. I've been on birth control since my other daughter, who was like a teenager at this time. So I was overwhelmed when I found out I was pregnant. I was like, I didn't know right away. I did stop using, but I was pregnant and I was using. So I had a choice at my time where to go through withdrawals
Yeah.
or to use. But thank God my body more or less rejected it and I had to stop. Thank God. So she is she is healthy. She was born like 5 weeks early, but she was 6 pounds 5 ounces at 5 weeks early. So
And
they told
she's
me,
beautiful.
yeah, and they told me if she would have went to term, that she would have been a 9 pound baby.
You're like, thank God
so,
she came early.
so it was a blessing in disguise that she came early because there probably would have been complications or a C-section or something.
Yeah.
But the drug use didn't stop after she was born. I've been sober on and off. Like I think my first drug charge or my first charges started in my 30s. I had misdemeanors; they turned into felonies. I was sober for a while. I also have a teenage daughter, and then she started her own struggles. So I would be doing good, she wouldn't. I'd kind of pulled in, and then we're both not sober.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like trauma bonding. Like I was trying to help her, but yet I did not even know how to help myself. Like I was still new in sobriety, and I think I had a year and I had relapsed. So I was going through a divorce. I'm divorced. I've been divorced for 3 years. That was a big change in my life also.
Yeah.
That wasn't the greatest marriage. I don't know how much of that I want to get into, but kind of like with enabling, basically the sicker I got, the sicker the relationship became. And I don't put like all the blame on him or all the blame on me, which I have a habit of taking all the blame for everything. Basically, I will apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm still learning that everything that I did in my addiction still wasn't all my fault. You know, I do have my side, my part to play in it. But of course, there's two sides to everything.
Yeah.
So even in the marriage, I recently we're divorced. We've been divorced 3 years. I apologized to him, and I needed to do the healing for myself. And I was sitting and thinking about it for quite a while, and I'm like, it kept coming to me like I needed to apologize. And I was thinking about, I'm like, well, this guy, has his faults too, which he definitely did, right? Because he definitely had his part to play in the marriage too. But I'm like, I felt like I needed to apologize. So I did. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. I did this in a text message. And I'm like, I'm sorry I wasn't the wife, the mother that was needed at the time. And, I wish it could have been different, but I did not know how to be any different at that time than what I was. And I kind of went through this long thing with him, and he was just like, wow, he did not know what to say. And the thing is, I really didn't need a response from him.
Right. Right. It was more of the closure for yourself and acknowledging the other party.
And that was huge for me. And I still and the thing is, I'm still going through like this healing journey. And I've been in one relationship since my marriage. That was another whole healing journey that I had to endure. Even when I was sober, I was with this other man after my divorce. I was single for a year. Didn't plan on being in a relationship. I was going through so much stuff. Working on myself, getting to be in a better place. Was totally 100% sober. And then I met this other guy. Well, I didn't meet him. He was actually, it's a long story, but he was actually my ex best friend's ex-husband. So I thought I knew him because I knew him since we were like 15 years old.
Ah.
Yeah. So this, you know who he is. So that was a whole nother experience. We dated for 2 years on and off, broke up 4 separate times, and it was a lesson.
As everything is.
And oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and now more or less you're like on that really like relationship with yourself and investing with yourself, which is, I think it's so much easier to do when we are with ourselves. even though what people don't realize is a lot of people with major traumas end up with codependency issues, and that goes hand in hand in correlation with any kind of addiction usually. And it's so much harder doing it with another person because it's kind of like you get warped up into their energy as well, and it takes away from your own healing. But like you said, it wasn't planned, but it was a lesson, and now you are back to focusing on you.
Yeah, we were drinking a lot, and he basically was an alcoholic. He'd wake up and drink in the morning, and I ended up finding myself drinking all the time. Like, it's basically what we did. We go out to eat, we drink, and I was sober because I wasn't using heroin, I wasn't using meth, but I still was prescribed ADD medication, which I was not taking the way I was supposed to be taking. I was drinking with him, and not only was I not taking my own medication, I was also taking his medication. So I definitely was not in a healthy place whatsoever. And at this time, I was 197 pounds. Breaking up, going back with him, and I would break up with him because I was mad or upset about something. But like a week later, I found myself going back to him. And I'm like, why do I keep doing this? Like, I would forgive him and be like, it's okay. And I would go back. And I found myself doing, like, we dated for 2 years, and this has started to become like normal. Like, I would just accept whatever, like, he would pick a fight with me or something, or he would like leave me on a weekend and be doing whatever he was doing and just not contact me. Just like these weird behaviors. But I would be mad, I'd break up with him, and then I would take him back.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I'm like, why am I doing this? He is not the person I thought he was. You know, he's not being faithful to me. Obviously, he has other things going on that he's interested in. Maybe his ex-wife. I didn't really know the truth because he was pretty good at being deceitful on what he was doing. He would just say, "Oh, I saw people in your house." I'm like, "There's nobody in my," like, he would just, and like, he was almost, gaslighting pretty well, probably, and this kinds of things. And that's kind of like what he was trying. I'm like, what do you like? I could see through him, but yet he was telling me something, another story. It's like you're reading a story from the book, and somebody else is narrating you a different story. And it's like, well, it's right here. I can see it for myself, what it is. The words are right in front of me.
Yeah.
Why am I listening to your narrative of how the story goes?
Exactly. Yeah. I want to ask you really quick. I've always said, looking back, because we have many, what people don't realize, I think people associate it, and me and you have talked on this before, is that many people think of addiction and they think drugs or alcohol, right? And there's addictions of many kinds. And I, looking back, because your brain is, from the original trauma, throws you into so many different loops and situations. But what I see a pattern with is like a codependency of two people, right? And I looked back and I could see an addiction for love and the wrong type of love. And I hear a lot of what you're saying in that interaction and that experience. And it kind of relates back to what you said when you were a little girl, how you thought that was your fault and you were supposed to apologize, and the events kept happening, and maybe why you were led back to him. The brain actually gets addicted to those cycles. So as clear as day as it seems like to everybody else, when you are hardwired for trauma and addiction of any kind, we don't get it until we get it. When the heart and the mind align. Do you feel that love was an addiction almost in a semi
I think
way?
it was. I think it was just, I didn't love myself and I needed somebody to love me. I didn't know how to love myself. So the only way I could have that feeling is what somebody else gave me. And until I was sitting with myself one day, and I broke up with him last February for the last time. And I was on the verge of a relapse. At this time, I still consider myself being sober. And I'm like, I was ready to call my dealer and have him come bring me some meth. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I was 197 pounds, didn't love myself, couldn't deal with this trauma of this relationship anymore. And I'm like, I have to be done with this relationship. But I think I still had this, I needed the love.
Yes.
So I'm like, where am I going to get it from the drugs? Where am I going to find this love that I need? Not thinking that I have it within me this whole time. So what do I do? So what do I do? Do I relapse? Do I at this time I got off probation. I completed probation early. I'm doing all these things in my life. I almost lost custody of my daughter. I fought for her. I got her back. So, do I want to just throw everything away that I worked for? What am I going to do? So I'm like, well, I used to work out, and I would like to, be in shape. I would like to, I was 197 pounds. I'm like, I'd like to be 140 pounds. That's what I would like. So am I going to do something for me, or am I going to go back to the only thing I've known to do when things get rough? Like, I go through the cycle about every year where I would be sober, I'd relapse, I'd go to jail, get charges.
Was it around, can I stop and ask you this question, and you may discover something you've never looked at, because we do this within my membership. We track our seasonal patterns.
Yeah.
Do you notice that it was around the same time of year each year?
Kind of, yeah. So
now I got to ask another question. Hold on. I love this. I love this dialogue, and we're peeling back the layers. And if this is too much, you just say that, and we don't go there, and we don't stop, because this is about making you comfortable and to help other people with where they're at. Going back to that first initial trauma, you may not realize in this moment, but to think about it, when the brain wants you to acknowledge it, it may have happened around that time of the year as well.
I'm not sure. So for me, I think it was, to me, it always seemed like spring, around spring, or like the end of winter before spring, like, or maybe it was just tax return time when I had money. Because that was a big trigger for me too. But it seemed like when I was held accountable, when I was on probation, most of the time I would do okay. I would make it. Sometimes I wouldn't make it. I'd be sober for a while, but there was something still that I was lacking. I was doing it because I had to do it. I still didn't know who I was. Like, I'd always say, and my language, but I would always say, fuck my life. All the time when I was, in my addiction, that was my go-to word. Like, every time something didn't go my way, and I was like, I want a life. I really want a life. It's something I desired. I didn't like my life. I didn't like living the way I was living, but yet I wanted something. This is what I called a life, but I had no idea what it looked like. I had no idea how to get it. I'm like, can I just go to Walmart and pick one up? Because I really did not even know.
Right.
Because I thought everybody, I'm like, oh, they must be an undercover crackhead. They must be doing something. There's no way that they're living sober and they're happy. Like, these are things that my addicted brain did not even understand.
Yeah.
And so this last breakup, I know everything I went through was for a purpose. And this last breakup was different. I was like, I sat there and I'm like, what am I going to do? I was divorced. I didn't have somebody to rely on to pay my bills, to provide for me, basically. If I didn't take care of me this time, there was nobody that was going to take care of me. Now I'm living on my own. I have my daughter with me. I don't have my ex-husband. I'm the first time I'm ever living on my own.
Doesn't it feel so good and free?
You would think. I mean, I am now, but at the same time, I still didn't love myself. I didn't know who I was. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start working out. This is what I'm going to do. And that's what I decided that day. I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to the gym. God, that was so hard too. I tell you,
it is that first going, like, talking about it is one thing, but actually walking through those doors and signing up is a whole different deal.
It was nerve-wracking. Like, even to figure out how to open the locker seemed like an ordeal. And I really didn't know what I was doing, but I know I had to do it. And kind of like, people find meetings and all this stuff. And I don't know if I want to get too much into why I don't go to in-person meetings.
Yeah,
But
you don't have to.
when I started going to the gym, actually, I got slack from recovery community. So I started going 3 days a week. I started doing this, and I was a part of, I won't say a group, a recovery group. And it's okay. It's just lack of understanding, which I understand what it is. But they're like,
Yes.
all you do is go to the gym and drink your vitamin water. You think you're healthy. You think you're healed. And so here I am, still kind of, new in recovery.
Right.
And I don't fit in recovery community. I don't really feel like I fit in anywhere, because here I'm getting this slack from recovery community. So I'm like, well, I started going to float light. I started doing sensory deprivation, learning how to meditate, diving deep into my spirituality, doing these things for me.
Trying all these things that you've never had. But I love that. That is what people need to do. Keep going.
So the biggest thing is too, even now, like, I do get requests for dates and this and that, and quite a bit.
I'm sure, girlfriend, you are beautiful.
And some people are starting to question, like, well, are you lesbian? Like, why, so, and I feel bad. I feel not that I feel bad, but I find myself trying to explain, like, oh, I'm sounding kind of egotistical sometimes. I'm like, the way I say things, but it's not coming from a place that I'm trying to belittle anybody or anything like this. I'm like, I am just not dating. It's not true. It's not anything like personal about you. And like, well, just dinner. Everybody has to eat. I understand everybody has to eat, but I prefer to eat the way I like to eat. Trying to say it so people understand. With my divorce and that marriage, like, I was in my 20s when we got together, and we were married for 9 years, and my addiction, and then another relationship I got into, and then trying to figure, do things I need to do for me, but yet these relationships were never healthy relationships. And I'm still trying to figure out who I am, what I need, my boundaries. My boundaries are a big thing that I'm learning, that I'm finding where they are and where they're at.
And creating them, protecting them. Like I always say, like, it's our job to police and protect our own boundaries.
So boundaries have been a huge thing for me. And I'm in a place where I just don't want to date. And I don't really know how to explain it into words, but I just know I'm not ready, and it's not something that I need in my life right now. And to try to explain that where it doesn't sound egotistical, like, I'm in a journey of still learning who I am, learning what I need. And I go to the gym, and I have my 6-year-old that, is an important part of my life. And honestly, I don't really have room to focus on anything else right now. I'm still new at that.
That is A-okay. That is one thing I can super relate to you, sister. We have so many synchronicities and parallels in our story. It's not even funny, but that is something I can relate to. Here's where it was always awkward too, because here I am, such a vocal person, similar to yourself, but some conversations are so awkward to have, right? Because to us, especially, rooting back to some traumas that people should have heard, like, no means no, and you shouldn't have to fucking explain.
Right.
People always, I think society programs people to feel like they need to be with somebody, and they need to, and it's not the typical thing to do, but we're not typical individuals, so we're not gonna do what the typicals do. But I know what you mean. So when I have to ask, because I know for me what the physical was when I had first started off, and I'm getting back on track with it, how I used to be. But the gym was the catalyst, as it was for you. It was so much more than your physical. Tell me about your mental body when you were working out. Tell me about your spiritual body as you were working out.
I definitely notice it when I don't go. I'm more irritable. I'm more stressful. Like, I need it. Like, the dopamine, the serotonin, like, that's where I get my balance. And because I have anxiety, I have depression, I have ADD. And so people are like, well, can I stop taking my meds too? What does that look like? How do you not take medications for these things that you have? It's like, I really don't have them anymore. I go to the gym and I get that serotonin, the dopamine, like
Naturally,
it's hard, yeah.
organically.
And it's hard to even put into words. Like, there's so much more that the gym does for you, and I don't even know. Like, it's done so many things for me. I now love myself. Like, I am starting to figure out who I am. Like, I have confidence. I have self-worth. People are telling me I'm intimidating. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm intimidating? But apparently not everybody understands confidence. And I'm learning these things. The more I'm on this journey of myself and figuring out who I am, now other people are around me are relating to me differently than how they used to.
Yeah.
Guys will come up and talk to me, and then they're like, okay, and then they kind of walk away and they don't talk to me again. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, that's fine. That's, I just find it interesting. It's like I'm learning things now about myself through how other people are interacting with me, because they don't treat me the same way they used to treat me.
Yeah.
People used to be like, oh, you want to hang out and get drunk? I don't have that anymore because I don't attract that anymore. Now they're just come up and talk to me, and I'm like, well, why didn't you ask me out for a date? They're like, well, honestly, you're intimidating. And I'm like, that's really interesting that how people perceive confidence now.
Yes.
And I'm learning these things, and I'm like, I know that for myself that I'm just a confident person, and I'm not going to tell you look great, or I mean, I do give compliments, but I'm not like, can I have your phone number? I'm not really engaged in these conversations usually because it's not my focus. It's not really why I'm at the gym. I'm at the gym for me, and this is why I'm there. And I don't mind helping other people and stuff like that. But I mean, other guys and stuff will try to come up and talk to me. And I think it's just that they see that I'm just the way you hold yourself, I think, or something, that they're just like, okay, that they can tell that I'm not giving them whatever it is that they're looking for.
It almost draws them in more because it's a challenge for them. The testosterone, especially in the gym, when you can smell the testosterone, you know what I mean, girl. It's that shoulders back. I get this. I think because your sister Genesee is a Leo sun, and my Venus and Mercury is a Leo. So I heavily resonate with the Leo energy. And when I was at my best, I was shoulders back, chin up, so that crown couldn't fall off. Similar to you, the confidence feels good having self-worth issues. People didn't know, like similar to you when you were young, that you had self-worth issues or self-confident issues, like I did too. And it is that presence that they see, that strong energy. And, people mistake confidence for cockiness, and I will be the first one to say Genesee is the most loving, opening, welcoming. Don't get anybody wrong. We will bring the lion paws out on somebody if we have to, but she is so loving, open, like just I have never felt like I was hugging an individual that I've never met in person, like when we interact online and how, since I've met you. But yeah, no, I love that the gym was such a catalyst for your healing journey. It is powerful what it does. And so I've got to ask you, what keeps you motivated and what keeps you going with it? Because there's a lot of people who fall off, myself included.
I love this question too, because this just happened to me at work the other day. One of my coworkers goes, I wish I had your motivation. And I was like, that's really interesting that you say that. I was motivated in the beginning to go because I was overweight. I wanted to lose the weight. So what started me going to the gym was motivation, because I'm like, I want to lose weight. And that's basically the reason why I started, but it doesn't keep you going. Yeah. Motivation gets you in the gym, but discipline keeps you going.
Yes.
And so I explained to my coworker, I said, are you motivated to go to work every day? He's like, well, no, I'm not. I said, well, why do you go to work every day? Why do you keep coming if you're not motivated to be here? Well, it's obviously the benefits, the paycheck, everything you get from going to work. Going to work and doing your job makes you feel good. It gives you confidence. When the boss comes around and says, hey, good job today, your paycheck, shows that you are doing what you need to be doing. It gives you, confidence, self-worth, that you can pay your bills. Same kind of thing with the gym. It's the discipline. you go and you reap the rewards of going. It's, you're not motivated to go, but if you go in the gym, what the benefits are going to be. You're going to feel better, like emotionally. You're going to have that release. You're going to look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I'm a beast,
Yes.
and you're going to see the changes in your body, and just seeing the changes in your body. And then the mental changes that go along with that. And you're like, you stand a little bit taller. You'll walk past a bunch of guys and don't even notice if they're noticing you.
Yes, that tunnel vision on the way to do another set.
It's never ending. There's like always something that I don't always want to go to the gym. Like
Right. Like, let's be real. There are days where we're like, I don't feel like it, or I'm bloated, or
I feel like crap. This tastes like crap. I don't want to go, but I go because I know once I get there and I do what I need to do, I'm going to feel better, and
just get there. Just get there. Once you get there, it shifts.
And once so for me, once I get about halfway through my workout, the adrenaline and stuff, kicks in, and then I'm like, yeah, then I'm like all like, ready to go. And I don't take pre-workout or anything. I usually don't, but I'll drink some coffee or whatever, but it's the adrenaline that kicks in about halfway through my workout. If you're lifting heavy enough, and you'll notice this, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, you get this burst of Hulk, like this natural Hulk Hogan that we both understand, and it makes you push and like, no, I got 2 more in me. I know exactly what you mean. I want to ask another question. What or who is your why?
Me.
I love that. That oh my God, it says so much.
I am my reason why. And a lot of people are like, well, you can't put you first. And even my mother-in-law, she goes, all you do is go to the gym and work. I said, I used to do drugs for a living.
Yeah.
What do you mean? There's people that try to creep in and steal your happiness. They will, all of a sudden, because I used to have that mom guilt. I've been through it all. And, there's times I try to buy my kids and all these things. You know what I have to do is take care of me. I take care of me and set the example. My daughter's outside jumping rope with me. Mommy, are we going to do this? Mommy, are we going to meal prep?
Yes. You're modeling what healthy life, normal life is for her so that she doesn't follow in your footsteps. I have to commend you for that, because a lot of people would instantly say other things, right? But underneath, I'm a mom and I love being a mom just as much as you do. But before we were mothers, we were us. Yeah. And how can we be a good mother if we aren't caring for the self and doing the minimum for ourselves and what actually feels good to us and what helps keeping us balanced and on the right path? And that's what matters. I definitely know I got so much criticism. I was using drugs when I was in the gym, when that really wasn't when I was using drugs. And it was all sorts of, first I was too fat. Now I'm too skinny. It's like, fuck all of you and all your judgments and what you have to say.
Muscular. You look like a man.
Yeah, good. I look like a sexy fucking man.
I mean, I've gotten it a little bit on Facebook where a couple of guys are like, not complimenting me on some of my more risky pictures I put out. I'm like, I'm proud of myself, and even my mom, she's like, oh, too much, darling. I'm like, there is no such thing now of too much. If I'm feeling it and I'm feeling proud of myself or where I'm at, and I'm going to post it. And if people are not happy with it, I'm like, well, you don't need to be here in my space, son, because this is my space. And this is where I'm going to be proud of myself and proud of the work I put in. And if that's okay, if you don't enjoy it, and you don't need to be here then, and it's just like, I have to do things for me. And that's what I never figured out through my addiction. And I was a people pleaser and I was a doormat and I had no boundaries. And I did this for a long time. And finally I was like, trying to figure out what this whole life thing was about that everybody was so excited about. Now that I found it, there's no way that I would ruin it with drugs. I love where I'm at in my life. I love being self-sufficient. I have my own job, my own car, my own place. I support myself, support my daughter, and I'm happy. And the thing is, I had to find me and take care of me. And here I try to get sober for my kids. I would try to get sober for my husband. I would get sober because I had to get sober. I never wanted to get sober for the most part, because I
Right.
never knew what it was like to live. I never knew what life was like. And once I figured out how to experience life and enjoy living, and almost like the high of just enjoying, the rain, and just all these things, like I just didn't notice before. I just feel like I wasn't a part of. And it's just like I enjoy life so much now that I would never again take that away with drugs. Before I was always like I need the drugs to love life, and now it's like the total opposite. You
Yes.
know?
Only people who have created that for themselves understand, especially those that have had addiction of some sort of drug or alcohol in their background. Because I refer to it the same way. The last 8 years, people like have referred to me as like walking Xanax. Like my positivity and my
Yeah.
frequency, yeah, it feels like I'm high off fucking
Yeah.
life, and it feels fucking amazing.
Yeah. And to try to, I try to tell people, it's, I need this, or I'm looking for that, or I need a relationship. I hear them saying, this is the things that we need to look for within ourselves. And lots of times we look for it without outside of ourselves, like alcohol or shopping or something. It's like we're lacking something within when we
Yeah.
have these desires. Like I know lately, like I've been having these feelings like I want to drink. I'm like, why do I feel like I want that? Am I lacking something within myself? Is there something that I need to look at that I'm lacking? Am I not taking care of myself? I'm like, oh, I haven't floated in a while. Maybe I need to go for a sensory deprivation float. And I'm like, so it's being more in tune with myself when I'm feeling these desires for even sugar or
Yes.
anything. I'm like, so I kind of slow down and I'm like, what is it? Why am I craving these things? And some of it just is hormonal. It happens. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but sometimes it's just like, why do I want to drink? Why do I feel the need to look for something? What am I something I need to work on or look at it within myself? And it's like I'm still healing. I'm still working on me. And
Right.
that's why I don't go on dates right now. I don't entertain any kind of relationship. There's something inside of me that tells me no. And I don't really always know that reason, but I just know it's not meant for me right now. And
Exactly. I feel that
no,
your soul knows that you are at such a raw and vulnerable
yeah.
place, but to actually know what Genesee wants for herself is the fact, the key. That is the why that you need to focus
It's like
on.
I
That
enjoy
you actually
the
know
journey.
that you don't
Yeah.
want it.
I'm enjoying this journey of seeing where working on me is going to take me. It's like, okay, now I found the gym and I found that I can change my body. Like
Yeah.
I feel like we look for drugs kind of for a similar reason. Like we want to change, we want to do something, like it does something for us. But now I found a different outlet for all. I tell people, if you're a great addict, you'd be great in the gym because
Yeah.
you can channel all of that addictive energy into something so positive, and you can see the changes in yourself, not only physically but mentally. And I'm like, why are not more of us going to the gym? Why are not more of us like, and they start thinking deeply, and I'm like, okay, a lot of people go to meetings. We're told you're an addict, you're an alcoholic, you go to meetings, this is what you do. And I'm not bashing meetings. They're great for a lot of people.
Right.
They just were not for me. If
Yes.
if I try something and I relapse and it doesn't work, I'm not going to keep doing it
Yeah, that's
over
the
and
definition
over
of
and over and
insanity.
over. But yet, when people go to meetings and they relapse, we tell them go back to the meeting, go back to the meeting. It, no
What
offense,
are
but
we trying that's new that will actually
right,
maybe that
right,
spark,
right.
to activate that light again?
Right. It's like if meetings don't work for you, maybe meetings aren't just, and it's okay. And it's okay if meetings aren't for you because they're great for some people, but all of us need different things in recovery. And that was not a need for me. I connect too much to people. I take on way too much. And if I'm not in a good place, I'm going to take on where somebody else is at. And I can't do that.
No,
So
not
for
in
me,
that environment,
no.
especially. I think it's too familiar with such a level of depth to it that you recognize. I commend you for that as well, because a lot of people wouldn't break that chain and try something different and go with what their soul. You really have listened to your intuition all along. And you really have been guided. I love the fact that you pointed out people need lots of different things. I refer to on our healing journey, we can't talk about the time that we lost, right? It was meant to happen, but we can make up for it now. And when we make up for it now, we have a toolbox, and we've got to add tools and resources, as many as possible, in that box, because one situation may require this tool, another may require this. You gotta try different things. You gotta try things that you're being led to or you feel drawn to, and that's what you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, meetings are not a thing for me, but I found, okay, this isn't working. You know, you do need to do something for recovery. Don't get me wrong. I mean, a lot of us are finding out, you know, different things that work for different people, and you know, meetings didn't work for me. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do? What worked for me before? What brought me happiness in the past? And I used to exercise and work out, and I used to do some amateur modeling when I was younger. And that's why I'm like, I knew that always brought me happiness when I would, you know, be on the path when I was working out. So I'm like, well, you know, wasn't sure where it was going to take me when I first started getting back into the gym, but now it's become passion. Now it's like, okay, what else can I work on? I'm trying to get the cover of Miss Health and Fitness, as you kind of see that I'm, you know.
I have my daily vote consistently, girl, like more than I go to the gym consistent. All right. I just did it before we logged on. Like, I got you. Daily vote.
Vote for me too.
You need to. We're all our own biggest cheerleader.
You know, that'll be, you know, I want to like tell my story and get my story heard. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to get the cover this year, but that's okay. And that's another thing. Failure is okay. It's okay to fail. It's not okay not to try.
I always say that I don't use the word failure, because all failure is an opportunity to learn in a different way. Yeah. So I try to program, because a lot of people get hard on themselves about failing. And so the biggest thing for me that's helped is all the mindset rewires and the light switch methods you have to do, because the mindset is actually what people don't realize the hardest part. It's not the physical or the spiritual, it's the mental that brings people back into those dark places and dark rooms. And so for me, a lot of my healing journey was about the rewiring of the mind. I'm obsessed with the mind, especially since my mom passed from brain cancer. And it works because you're like programming your experience. And like you said, there is no failure. It's just allowing you to learn and try again. Just like we were babies. We had to learn how to walk. We had to fall, right?
Exactly.
We got back up. We were fine. We fell down. We got back up.
Right. So now I'm always open to trying new things, because I'm like, well, it's okay if I don't make it this year. You know, it's still an experience that I'm going through. And I get to be on this journey and see where this leads me to, you know, just like picking up First Form. I'm a Legionnaire with them. Like, I was like insane when I started working with them. I was like, I got people.
That is with the community that you feel aligned with. Yeah, so if that's talking to anybody, you're going to have to send me the information so I can tag it in the link below when I send this out on social media, so that I can include your links. She is, I don't know what do you refer to yourself with First Form? You guys call yourself coaches, or?
Well, I am a coach. I am not a certified coach at this point. That is something that I'm working on, going back to school to do. But right now I do coach through the First Form app. And it's called a Legionnaire. I'm actually a Legionnaire is the title that they give us. I'm not a sponsored athlete, but I would love to be at one point.
You're working towards it.
Working towards being a sponsored athlete with First Form. Maybe in the years coming, that would be something that may happen for me, which would be awesome if I keep on my fitness journey and, you know, keep doing everything I'm doing. But yeah, I can help people with their fitness plan, with nutrition, and I do that through their app. It's called the First Form app. It can be downloaded through like Apple Play or whatever, any of those things to your phone. Or if people want to work with me directly, then I have to send them my direct link to work with me. And I can coach them. I can see how they're eating, what they're eating. I can make adjustments. Like I have these people that I also have a coach and everything that works with me. And they're like, you're not drinking enough water today. Or you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I love it. It's like, so, I mean, you actually have like a whole community of people that are rooting and cheering for you all the time. They actually sent me this necklace.
I saw that video. They feel like family to
me. Is like they have become like family. Like they know my story and they know like where I'm at, and like they know I just injured. I just got to pull muscle in the gym, and they're like, okay, take it easy, just work on your nutrition and keep your nutrition up until you can get back. And so it's like they are also my supporters. Like they have become not just like at first I'm like, oh, it's just a supplement company, and the more and more, I mean, I just started with them, I think in November, but the more that we get to know each other and we're working together to help me achieve my goals so I can help others also achieve their goals. But it's like they're great. Like they know, like, what's going on. They're like, are you okay? Do you need to, should we get on the call? It's like they have become like they send me these little notes like, we are cheering for you. I'm like, and it just, it almost makes me lose my mind. Like,
It's support that you never had and never felt. I mean, your mother's one thing and that unconditional love that you described, but when you have it from people who aren't naturally supposed to or don't always unconditionally love you, it just feels good, especially after you've been to hell and back.
Yeah, and it still kind of just takes me off guard, and like I didn't know what that box was when I opened it live on.
You're like, what is it? What
I
is
know,
it?
so I actually thought, like, did I place an order? I forgot. You know what I mean? And just the thoughtfulness. And she used to be my coach, and then she got a different position in the company. So then I had a different coach, and so it's actually my third coach now. But and this one I have right now is Meg, and she's awesome. She's so. I mean, they're
down to
all,
earth. Her energy feels down to earth.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually had to ask for a different coach, and it was okay. And I was just that I wasn't feeling it with one of my coaches, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not really feeling like. And it was nothing personal against him, And I was just like, we just weren't clicking. And so I talked to Katie, who was my first coach, and I'm like, I don't really want to say anything, but this one coach, we're just not clicking. And he's like, well, just the way he's kind of like, I own my own gym and these kind of things. And I'm just like, okay, that's great. But how is that helping me? And it's okay. We were just different people. And I just said I'm still learning my boundaries and speak up for myself. And I'm glad I did. I was like, hey, I'm just not feeling it with so-and-so. She's like, you know what? I am so glad you told me that. We will find you with somebody else. And, and it's great. And I'm so happy with who I have now. And I'm working with Meg. I mean, there's a whole team of people. They have their own gym. They have this huge facility, and
they have their own gym.
Oh, they have their like this. If you ever look at First Form, they have like all this stuff on YouTube. They have like this massive like state of the art gym where they invite people in to check it out every so often. Yeah, they have.
Wow.
It's amazing. Like this company is like. It's beyond the supplements for me. Like, there's a lot of great supplements out there, and I do try some of the other companies and, sample some of their supplements. But the way this company like relates to you on such a personal level, and how they become like my number one supporters, how they're checking in with me, how they're involved in what's going on in my life, and they actually care about me as a person, and like send me like gifts in the mail, and like, cheer me on, and like want to know what's going on in my life and how they can help me, not just in the gym, not just with fitness, but just in my life. Like that took me by surprise. I did not expect that to start forming these relationships with them, And
Exactly. I only have a few more minutes, but I want to ask you one more question before we wrap up, Genesee. I could talk to you forever, and maybe we'll have to have you back on, because I could go back to a million things you said and comment and connect some dots with what I've seen and what I want, why I wanted to even have you on and start this series off with somebody so beautiful like you.
Thank you.
I want to ask, in your opinion, for anybody watching who may feel like inspired by your story or has paralleled, that's what we call it. You've got similar journeys paralleled, and maybe that they're thinking fitness may be the catalyst for them to help them. Anybody starting off on their physical lifestyle transformation, what advice do you have?
Just start. Just
start. Just fucking start. Do it.
We always say one of the sayings, if you're on Instagram a lot, like the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So no matter how uncomfortable it is, if you need to find like somebody else, like I actually wanted to work on something where I'm not quite sure what this looks like yet, but I wanted to combine people in recovery with people who wanted to go in the gym, So they would have somebody with them to get them out of that comfort zone, like somebody to go with
Yes.
them. So I'm not quite sure what that looks like yet, but that's something I'm kind of working on, about like kind of like a meetup partner where you can be like, I really want to start this, but I'm nervous. And I'm like, okay, let's find somebody that will go with you, that you feel comfortable with. So I know it's hard to get started, but just getting in there and going. There's usually, if you go to Planet Fitness, there's staff there that will show you how to use everything. It's just about showing up and consistently showing up. Just like anything else that we do in life, just like starting a new job, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be nerve-wracking, but the benefits are going to be more rewarding than anything that I could ever even start to explain, to try to say the benefits that I have gotten from going, not just the physical, not just the mental, but even people new in recovery is my big passion. And then being like, well, I had to cut out all the old people in my life, and I'm alone and I'm bored and I'm depressed and I don't know what to do. Go to the gym. Go to the gym. There's tons of people there. Even though if you don't want to talk to anybody, you'll be around.
Just being around,
right?
yes.
And you don't know where do I meet new people? Where, what do I do? That's all I know was using drugs. There's a whole community of people at the gym that probably have been in the same spot that you've been in. There's so many people that have found fitness that go there. They are not just, some people like, oh, they're all just like take creatine and protein. And, a lot of us have had past stories. If you start and talk to people at the gym, why they go, what, it's usually some kind of pain, some kind of loss, some catalyst that happened in their life that made them want to change, that wanted something different. They wanted to find themselves. They had no self-worth. They had no self-esteem, or they were going through something traumatic in their life. And this is their outlet for that. And what better thing to do, like new in recovery, even if you don't want to talk to other people, but you just keep going, and you're going to end up having a community of people around you.
Exactly. She just said it so beautifully, so beautifully. I don't even have to put a cherry on the top. I think I'll make another video after, kind of like connecting all the dots and tag you in it, and just like reflect on that. What I want to leave everybody with and close out on is that Angelic Love and Light is all about creating balance, and it's a community and a safe place. So there's no judgment zone here. And we all have addictions, and we all have something that we need to heal from. And it's brave, vulnerable individuals and leaders like Genesee and myself who have gotten to a place where we can start to share our story and grow from it and help others and serve that community by telling our story. So I hope somebody resonated with some part of this message. If you are seeing this video, universe is calling you to it for a reason. So listen carefully, because there was so many beautiful things that you could even just relate to somebody's story, and you could be the reason why somebody doesn't use again, or who has gone through the sexual abuse or had, addictive relationships. There's so much. That's why I've always in my life, girl, been really drawn to other people's like myself who have had like a lot of trauma.
Yep.
Heavy trauma. Like we all have trauma, but some of us have like more dense trauma. But I feel like here's where that makes us really special, and we can give back and learn from it. I feel that Creator, Lord, God, universe, all those interchangeable words in my world gives us that role for a reason, and that we pick that path, and we also learn from that path, but that path is also to then help other people from our experience. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and open with your story. I cannot wait to connect on like a post view on this session, and so you can hear back like some things that I don't think you were aware of. I want to share also. So I've known Genesee probably for like a year now. I've always connected with people online. I also didn't feel like I fit in anywheres. For some reason, I was able to connect with a lot of individuals all over the world, but I've discovered that Soul Tribe is kind of like that. We're spread all over the world for a reason. And when I see people, it's almost like I'm a human x-ray machine with my gifts, and I can see who they are in the moment. I can see who they could be in the future, and I can see their story and their journey. And I knew parts of Genesee's story, and I knew parts of it from my gifts, but I was like, I have to have her on, and I have to have her tell her story, because I knew that we paralleled. I blow myself away, even with my gifts as good as they are. I didn't realize like how similar we really are. And I think that's what makes our alignment feel so authentic, and why we did gravitate towards each other. We just support each other from afar. And it's like nice to have friends like that too, because everybody's in this healing, growing, and we're trying to create healthy relationships. And for two people that haven't had that, in a sense, the boundaries are important. Space is important, and support from a distance is equally important. So thank you so much, Genesee.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I will share this out, and we will get your company first forum. There we go. Legion. So we will get that information out. If something is calling you to Genesee, reach out to her. I'm going to put her contact information in as well. She will be more than glad to connect with you in divine timing.
Yep.
And we're big on that. So in divine timing, nobody needs to be overwhelmed. It's all about balance, babe. So, all right, girlfriend, I will see you in divine timing. And thank you so much once again. I'll talk to you when I talk to you.
Sounds great. Thank you.